Guys, I've got a video for you coming that we recorded earlier in the week that we want to put out for Friday. A mailbag. Looking forward to Maryland. Even talk some Jim Harbaugh replacements, which I hope doesn't happen, but still going to put it on the channel today for you to enjoy as I'm flying here on Friday to Maryland for Michigan-Maryland game coming up tomorrow. So enjoy this video. All the content's still relevant, but if you hear me say anything about Harbaugh, uncertain about whether he's coaching or not, all that stuff, or the Friday court case, as you know, Harbaugh agreed to the two-game additional suspension, Maryland tomorrow, and of course Ohio State in exchange for the Big Ten dropping the case. So enjoy this video, but just forgive me if there's a couple factual errors that might come out of it as we recorded this early in the week to have content for you on Friday as we're traveling to Maryland. Let's get it going. The Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports coming up right now. Question coming in from Youngest Harbaugh. It is the Michigan Football Report Mailbag. We have some great info for you on this show, taking questions from our audience. He says, I know it's early, but what do you think this team looks like next season? It's in 2024. Interesting question that we will get to in just a moment. But you are watching the Michigan Football Report live Q&A audience mailbag live from Tuesday night show. We're going to put this up later in the week, maybe Thursday or Friday. TBD when it comes to this whole Harbaugh, Big Ten, Fox Sports situation. But I also want to ask you guys, like the video on our demand videos. We've asked, you guys have come through big time. I've said 100 likes in the first 1 hour. When this goes up on Thursday or Friday, let's get 200 likes in the first 2 hours. It really helps put this video in the feed of more Michigan football fans. For those of you watching live, you can always use hashtag Michigan, pop you right to the top of Jack's feed, or got a bunch of super chats we'll go through as well from the live show. But let's get back to the question. I know it's early, but what does this team look like next season? Good question, tough question. Trying to think about this. The defense is going to look a lot better than I think I initially thought, right? Josh Wallace has another year of eligibility. McCarthy Page, I don't think is going to go pro. I think he's going to be returned to Michigan next year. Keon Sabb, he's looking good as a sophomore. I don't know if Rod Moore is going to go to the NFL because I don't think it's a top 1 or 2 round pick. So you could have your entire secondary with Will Johnson, minus Mike Sanderson, of course, but you could have those 5 who have a ton of starting experience. Keon Sabb, maybe he moves to the safety position starting. Maybe Rod Moore comes down and he plays that nickel role next year. Okay, cool. Linebacker, is Junior Colson going to leave early? I think he wants to, but where will he be drafted? If he's a 3rd or 4th round projection, he'll come back for senior year. And then you're going to have Ernest Hausman. So, okay, cool. You got 4 starters in the secondary, plus Keon Sabb, who started a few games. Then you got your 2 starting linebackers. And then defensive ends. Jalen Harrell can come back next year. I don't know if he will. Chris Jenkins is going to go pro, but you're still going to have Mason Graham. You're still going to have Trap Money Benny, Rayshon Trap Money Benny. And then you're going to have Kenneth Grant, the gift from the football gods, running down Penn State linebackers. You're going to have Derek Moore still. You're still going to have Josiah Stewart. So you're going to have 12, 13 high-impact players on this team coming back next year on offense. I think the question is if this is the top 5 team or number 12 to 20 team in the country, is whether J.J. McCarthy comes back. If he does, no matter what else happens, I think Michigan's top 2 or 3 in the preseason polls, maybe even number 1. If he doesn't, depends on the level of quality of the quarterback that I think they're going to have to get in the transfer portal. If it's a starter who's proven something in other schools, Michigan still is a top 5, 8 program next year. But if they've got to replace the entire offense outside maybe Colston, Loveland, and a couple other people, I think the offense could be a bigger struggle, and this might be more of like a 10-2, 9-3 team. But as the season's going on, I felt much more confident on 2024 than I did when the season started. Reminder to Dominic Franchillo and Mike Layton, need you guys to hit me on Instagram or hit me on Twitter, at James Yoder on Twitter or at Michigan Football Report on Instagram. Send me the DMs. We got some giveaways from last week's show, last Tuesday, for you. Dominic's getting a hard hat and the Don t-shirt. Mike Layton is getting one of our Super Chat hard hat. We're a gritty show. We wear the hard hat. We go to work and want to make sure we're putting these in the hands of our viewing audience. Dominic and Mike won some contests we had on November 7th live, Michigan Football Report. Thomas Berry says, if you really wanted to stick it to Petiti, they would travel to Maryland. Okay, what does that say, Jack? They threatened to forfeit Maryland within hours of kickoff, and then they would watch Fox come for Petiti's scalp, still with the Big Ten and the national title. That's an awesome thing. Thomas Berry, that is an awesome chess move by Michigan. So let's just play that out. Michigan flies to Maryland. Jim Harbaugh's with him. He's not with him. Whatever. Okay. And they say, you know what? Fox has got this viewing audience that's going to get 7 or 8 million viewers coming up on Saturday. Big noon kickoff. Their entire production. we are not going out on the field. What's going to happen there is the Big Ten is going to be contractual breach to Fox. They're going to lose money. Michigan's going to flex their muscles. And it's not even going to hurt them with the Big Ten in the national championship race, right? They still would beat Ohio State the next week. You're still in the Big Ten championship game. You forfeit the game. So it shows it was a loss maybe, but it doesn't really matter. You beat Ohio State. You win the Big Ten championship game. You're still in the college football playoff, and you stick it to the Big Ten. Thomas, I'm sending this to people who have a chance to get it in the hands of Jim Harbaugh. That's a pretty good idea. I really like it. Thomas Berry with a hell of a analysis or suggestion for Michigan football. Sheldon Cooper says, you're a longtime listener. You hear me straight. This gambling investigation in Vegas. Do you expect any major or more surprises? As always, Bosa. Look, it's been out there. I don't think it's relevant. I think this investigation, the NCAA investigators have been talking to Michigan football players. There's been some talk about point spreads, etc. It seems one level too deep of criminality and things like that for me to really think it has any legs. And if that was the case, I think Michigan's football players, Connor Stallions, of course, anybody still on the staff, they would be luring up to the heavens if they were looking at potentially jail time or anything like that. Big time question coming from Sheldon. Really like, make sure that we're addressing the rumors that are out there, but I have yet to see anything that makes them valid. $20 super chat coming from some guy. We'll get to you in a second. But I want to tell you guys about Prize Picks, the sponsor of the Michigan Football Report. I love Prize Picks. 60 seconds, I can get my pick in. I'm playing 3 or 4 days a week, Thursday night football. I'm playing some college football games on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. It's college football all day. Sunday, Monday night football as well. You versus the numbers. You can mix and match sports. Reboot policy. If a player in your Prize Picks gets injured in the first half and does not return, the pick continues to live on. That player is just taken out. And you've got Flex Play. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. I can make my picks in under 60 seconds, and it's the fastest way and easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. You pick more or less on player stats to win up to 25 times your money. This week, I'm picking Coldridge Stroud, CJ Stroud. I've got more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. I've been losing lately, so our guy Jeremy Chuggs make my picks. More than a half touchdown for the Kelsey brothers combined, more than a half rush touchdown for Jalen Hurts, and more than 86.5, I should take the back. Receiving yards for C.D. Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys had 3 straight games over 150. So I just picked more in all those. We're a more group, right? We're looking for more offense. I put $10 down. I get those right. I win myself $100. And speaking of 100, PrizePicks is giving you a deposit match of up to $100 when you make your first deposit. But you got to use the link at the bottom of the screen, prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. Link is in the comments and description of the video. Support the show. Make sure you use our sponsor link and promo code to get yourself up to a $100 deposit match. PrizePicks is super fun. You'll enjoy it, and they'll continue to sponsor our show so we can go live here for 2-3 hours on every Tuesday night that our little hearts desire. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Some guy coming in saying, I wonder if Ryan Day is behind the Mel Tucker mess at MSU. Interesting. Well, I don't know what to say to that because Mel Tucker mess means that he was rubbing one on the phone to Brenda Tracy late at night. I don't know what his motivation would be for that scenario at all, but I wouldn't put anything past Ryan Day at this point. So some guy appreciate the $20 super chat. We're getting you on the helmet sticker. Making sure, did I get him a helmet sticker? I did. So we got a few more coming for you later, but I'll make sure you got one for you on this show. Some guy, thank you so much to the super chat. $10, you're on the hard hat, and you will be on the end screen again after the season is over. Vaughn Moore says, no one is talking about it, but the scandal may help with the draft. What NFL GM wouldn't want to draft these kids? Mental toughness means a lot. And I said this earlier in the live show. It's a really good point by Vaughn. I really think this is a well-thought-out question. Is when you go to these job interviews, sometimes like, what's the biggest adversity you've ever faced? Can you tell me about a time where, all the chips were down or you had to go above and beyond? There's all these interview questions. You guys know what I'm talking about. How do you ask this question in an NFL draft combine interview to J.J. McCarthy or Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards or Chris Jenkins or, Zach Zinter? Well, let me tell you about the time we were ranked number 2 in the country and then number 3 in the country, and our coach was suspended for the first 3 games of the season, and the entire sports world came down on us for a month, and our coach was suspended for another 3 games, maybe less, with what might happen before Friday's court case. But that's just a great question, and I think that's a good point from Vaughn. Mental toughness, showing that they didn't let it affect them. We went on the road against a top 10 team without our coach less than 24 hours that's a hell of a one. So if they got to go on the field, this kind of thing, I think, really strengthens the spine, puts some steel in your spine, as Jim Harbaugh says. The kind of guys I would want to draft if I was an NFL GM. Get to know you guys a little better on your Michigan football fanhood. Who is your all-time favorite Michigan football player? I've got like 3 now, right? I've got 5. My all-time number 1 is Charles Woodson. And after Woodson, it became Braylon Edwards, right? 2001, 2, 3. He was there in 2002, 3, 4, I should say, were his big years. Also there in 2001. So those are my top 2. And then it was like kind of in the abyss. Chad Henne, but he didn't win against Michigan, Ohio State, etc. And there was like in the abyss. Denard, I really couldn't get behind because of the losses and the bad seasons with Rich Rod. For the last 3 years, that brought me 3 new all-time players. Hassan Haskins, right? He's in my top 5. Okay. Certainly Donovan Edwards, because what he did against Ohio State. And now this season, it is J.J. McCarthy. I think Mike Sanderson, Blake Corum right there. But as of now, those are my top 5 Wolverines of all time. Let me know who your favorite player is. A-Train132. It's always the A-Train. Let me know what you guys think your favorite all-time Michigan football player. And while you guys are down there commenting, make sure you go scroll past that subscribe button. Hit this bad boy. We are well over 29,000 subscribers in the Michigan Football Report, and we are right on the path to 30,000. Can we hit it before next week's game against Ohio State? Be a stretch, but love if you guys can help us get there. Steve from D-Town in the house. D-Town, who would be your top outside coaching candidates if Harbaugh wasn't here next season? So I saw this one come in earlier on the show. I gave Jack the one up because I had this queued up. If anything would have happened with Jim Harbaugh, if he would have gotten fired or anything like that, if something more came out over the last couple of weeks with the entire, Connor Stallion situation. So if they went outside the program, which I don't think they will, I think Sherrone Moore is right there. But what happens if Sherrone Moore gets fired too, right? I don't think any of this is going to happen. Well, let's just take a look just for fun's sake. I think my number 1 candidate has got to be Oregon's Dan Lanning. Head coach there. Been there for 2 seasons. And it's got them right in the thick of the playoff hunt, maybe playing the best football of any team in the country outside of Michigan at this point. Dan Lanning, like 37 years old, defensive coordinator with Georgia, shut down Michigan 2 years ago, assistant at Alabama prior to that. He would be my absolute number 1 candidate if Michigan went outside the program. Number 2, Kalen DeBoer, Washington. His coaching record is something crazy. It is like in 3 stops at Washington and another school, which I forget, and then some D5 school, etc. He's got a record of like 103-9 or something like that in his college football career. Kalen DeBoer got a hell of an offense, develops wide receivers, develops quarterbacks. I would like to see what he Fresno State. Who's he at before them, though, right? Fresno State was before then. He was head coach of like a small program. Sioux Falls. We'll call it Sioux Falls. Absurd record in those 3 stops. How about Matt LaFleur? Matt LaFleur is the Packers head coach, but he is not dealing with an Aaron Rodgers-led team, right? He had those 4 years with Rodgers. They were going to the NFC Championship game every year. They were going 13-3 or 12-5, 14-3, etc. That's not the case anymore. Aaron Rodgers has left. They've got Jordan Love. He's not working out that well. It's a 500 team. Could he get fired this year? Maybe. I doubt it. I think he's going to get another year or 2 because of his past success. But he's a Michigan fan growing up, Matt LaFleur. He might see this as the opportunity to be the head coach of the team he grew up loving from the state of Michigan, went to Northern Michigan. Very young guy. I think he's early 40s as well, and has shown his chops at the highest level, just like Jim Harbaugh before he came to Michigan, going to NFC Championship games, going 13-4, et cetera, et cetera. Matt LaFleur, I think, would be a big-time candidate that Michigan should absolutely look at. How about Jedd Fisch? Okay. What a job he's done with Arizona. They have had a hell of a season. They're just a play or 2 away. I mean, they have come down to the absolute wire. They could be in the top 7, top 8 right now, maybe with 1 loss if another play or 2 went their way. Former Michigan co-offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, passing game coordinator in 2015 and 2016. Jedd Fisch. Love what he's doing in Arizona. Is he going to stay there and turn them into a really nice program as they move to the Big 12, or he's going to jump in the next year or 2 to a big-time program? Michigan should give him a look if they decide to look outside of the program. How about this guy? All right, Jamie Chadwell. Doing some things at Liberty, right? Got Liberty undefeated. He's got Liberty undefeated. Prior to that, head coach at Coastal Carolina, and you cannot deny what he did there. Coastal Carolina, they went 3-9 his first year there, right? 5-7, and then 2020, 11-1, 2021, 11-2, 2022, 9-3. Now he's got Liberty 9-0. Prior to that, Charleston Southern, he had a couple 10-3 seasons in there in his 4 years, an 8-4, a 7-4, And prior to that, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is his 5th stop at Liberty. He's still a relatively young guy. I want to check his age really quick. 1977. I mean, so Jamey Chadwell was 46 years old on his 5th head coaching job. Those are 5 cans I think Michigan would absolutely should, could, and would look at if they had to go outside the program and not give the job to someone like Sharon Moore, Jesse Minter, Mike Hart, someone like that. John Blaz, Super Chat MVP of the night and of the year. He says, beat the Ninja Turtles, that is Maryland, for win number 1,000. Michigan football, first team in any level of football, pro, college, high school, to win 1,000 games. It's the Packers leading the NFL with 700-something. Valdosta High School in Georgia with 800-something. And then Michigan football, the leader at all levels of football, coming up with 1,000. John's going to be at the game in Maryland. I'm going to be at the game in Maryland. Saw a few other people in the live chat at the game, so hit me up on Twitter at James Yoder. John, I'll be definitely hitting you up to see what's going on pregame, what's going on postgame. Thanks so much for the huge amount of super chats, John. You are the absolute man. Got to this question earlier, didn't have a chance to really answer it. How do you feel about TCU admitting they stole Michigan signs last year for the CFP? I don't know, there was a backdoor coach who went to Sports Illustrated and said, hey, we got this, we got that from Michigan opponents, probably Ohio State, maybe Purdue, maybe even Rutgers. But what their defense is, of course, is TCU and the teams that gave it to them, is it wasn't done with outside sources. It wasn't done with iPhones. It was done by just charting them on the game, which technically is maybe legal. But I think the sportsmanship policy that the Big Ten employs doesn't really come into play there. So I would say I don't think it's good. And I think the Big Ten teams, if it was Big Ten teams who gave them that information, absolute scumbag move and turn their back on their conference, a conference that Michigan, for the better part of ever, has really financially led the charge on and has allowed those other teams in the Big Ten to get the same piece of the pie, which they frankly did not have to do. Michigan ranked number 3 in the college football playoff. Answer this question down in the comments or the live chat. Will Michigan make the college football playoff for the 3rd straight year? It's just a simple yes or a simple no. Let me know what you guys are feeling. Yes or no. Will Michigan make the college football playoff? They got to beat Maryland. They got to beat Ohio State. They win the Big Ten championship game for a 3rd year. Yes or no. Let me know what you guys are thinking. And I'll make you guys a steal. Hashtag Team Followback on X, AKA, formerly known as FKA, Twitter. Next 5 people after the live show or after this video goes out Thursday or Friday who follow me on Twitter, I will follow the next 5 people back. So go follow me at James Yoder on Twitter/X/TwitterX. Bill Graves, funny thought, the Big Ten crowd dresses up in black and white like spy characters for the Ohio State game. Like that. And you could also have like hamburger sign-ups, so you kind of dress like a spy or a burglar. You got cheeseburgers to kind of make light of the further one. Everyone could bring binoculars, right? Everyone could, at one point in the game, right, end of the first quarter, ladies and gentlemen of Michigan Stadium, would you please pay attention to the north end zone, pull out your iPhone, and record the Ohio State sidelines. Ladies and gentlemen, start your iPhones. Everyone just records the Ohio State sidelines just to show how absurd that anyone could have done this whole Connor Stallions thing. Like the idea, Bill. I think Michigan should do something, maybe just a maze out, but something to just kind of poke fun at everything that's gone on over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Wave Runner. Didn't we ban this guy, Jack? Wave Runner. All righty, super chat us. Okay. Will McGregor take that step next year? I guess we're talking about, so will he take that? I don't know if he's going to be back, right? Will Braden McGregor take that step? He could go pro after this year, technically. He's been in the program 4 or 5 years. He's been starting with Jalen Harrell, but he's made a lot of big impact plays so far this year, and he's certainly a well-valued player, but he hasn't made he's not a superstar player. He's not an all-conference player this year, but could you say the same thing for Aiden Hutchinson going into his 4th year? Maybe. He had a nice 3rd year. He might have been a first-round draft pick. So always something to be said. If he comes back, which I expect him to at this point, could he make a big jump? Yes, although I wouldn't bet money on it. But I think he's got to worry more about holding off guys like Josiah Stewart, Derek Moore, and maybe some other players coming up beneath him, TJ Guy, etc., than he has about making some big step like Aiden Hutchinson did in 2021. But we have seen Michigan develop defensive linemen, defensive ends as good as anybody in the country over the past 5-6 seasons. So we'll see what Braden McGregor has in the 2024 season should he return to Michigan for another season.